Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Today is a great day of celebration for this parish for 2 reasons. One is obviously the windows. For those of you who don't know that, I had the privilege of being here for the blessing of the first 2 windows. So in a very interesting way, this is an act of completion that I get to come back to be a part of the blessing of all of the windows. But it's also the patronal festival of this parish. We're celebrating coming feast of St. Elizabeth of Hungary. Now, I forgot to ask Father Albert, did you talk about St. Elizabeth this morning?
I'm not telling, it's a test.
In the end, it isn't going to matter because I'm going to talk about St. Elizabeth. I'm just being polite. I couldn't help during the reading. I was thinking about St. Elizabeth. As you know, she was a person of enormous generosity. As the stories go, that one time during one of the wars, when her husband was away, she actually sold all the crown jewels so that she built a hospital which she worked in, all during the war. And I got to thinking that I know what that's like, because I'm married to one of those kind of people. It used to be at my house, you're never quite sure who was going to be there for dinner. It could be a quite expansive group. But the surprise part was always fun. So I was thinking of the prince and wondering if he was surprised when he got home to find that Elizabeth had sold all her jewels so that the poor could have a hospital. She was a woman of such generosity that she couldn't help herself. That wherever she saw a need, she tried to meet it. Wherever she saw somebody who didn't have something, she gave them something. And I was reminded of the last line in the reading from 2 Corinthians tonight, that everyone had enough. Those who did not have much had enough. And those who had much had enough. What a wonderful balance that must have been for Elizabeth to help bring that sort of balance to life, to help even things out, the great cosmic order of things. And I'm reminded that that's our call. It's not just for people like Elizabeth, for princesses and those kinds of things. We're all called to help bring that kind of balance to the world in which we live. Most of us, by everybody's standards today, are the rich people in these biblical stories. Now, compared to many others in our own culture, we are not rich people. We're just ordinary, everyday working people who have to struggle to make ends meet. But by comparison, we are wealthy. We have much. One of the greatest Thanksgiving sermons I ever heard, I don't mean to get off into other holidays, but it had to do with this. The preacher started the story by telling us about the hole in his roof and the leak that it had caused in his house. And he got to the end and he said, "But I'm thankful that I have a house that has a roof." That was the whole sermon. It was that little bitty story. Sometimes we lose track of how well things are for us. And we forget those for whom things are not well. But we live in a world of great inequity. Whether we like it or not, that's the reality. And our job is to do what Elizabeth did, to do all of the small things that we can do to bring balance. Our job is not to fix the problems of the world. That's God's job, by the way. We might be better off to try to let him do it for a while. But our job is just simply to try to bring some balance to this life. And we do it in small ways. Every time we bring a can of food to church so that somebody else can eat, we are bringing that balance to the world. Every time we put a coin in the pot when somebody's ringing a bell at Christmas time, we're bringing balance to the world. The world is not changed by great acts. The world is changed by millions and millions of small acts of kindness and charity that reach out and touch the hearts of other people. You and I are the people who will change this world. If we're going to wait for the politicians to do it, we've already figured out that's not going to work, have it? If we wait for the great leaders to change the world, it's not going to happen. Caesar, Pontius Pilate, presidents, leaders can only do so much. If you are a history buff, you know that in some ways the world hasn't changed much at all. The place we need to put our trust is in ourselves. If you don't mind, not because we're wonderful and perfect, although I'm sure you all are, but we sometimes forget. We're asked to trust God, but what we forget is God trusts us. God trusts us. He trusts us enough to put us in a place where we can make a difference in the world in which we live. And if we can change the world here, in one small town, in one small county in northern Georgia, guess what? It changes the whole world. And it begins to spread. And it grows. And the world is transformed. So let's start. Let's be daring like Elizabeth. Let's throw 2 coins in that pot the next time we go by. Well, let's bring 2 cans of corn into church so that somebody can be fed. Let's be daring. Let's do it all. God trusts us enough to give us the gift of other people's need because he knows that we can make a difference. we have the power to change the world in which we live. I know how powerless we all feel sometimes. It's a big system and it's hard to push against it. But the real truth is found in the gospel. And that truth is that we are people who are filled with God's grace and empowered by Him to transform this world. So let's make up our minds that that's what we're about to do. I got to say something about the windows. What I'm most pleased about, I can't remember if I said this the last time I'm here. I was here. The thing that pleases me most about the windows is you have not shut out the world, nor have you kept the world from seeing who you are. I am just so pleased that on Sunday morning when you look out, you can see what's going on in that world that I'm talking about. This certainly symbolizes the fact that we need to see the world's need. But at the same time, the world needs to see us as we come together on our knees, offering ourselves to God again this week. Perfectly ordinary, normal people who do perfectly ordinary, normal things. Like answering the phone. Think about it. What if it's God calling? See, that is a perfectly ordinary thing. That's why I don't get upset if people's phones go off from church. We're God's normal people gathered here to make a difference. God doesn't call only the specially gifted or the extraordinary together to be the church. He calls the most ordinary people like me to be with wonderful ordinary people like you who believe in Jesus and walk the walk. And if we work together, we can see the world's need around us. And we can make all the difference. What is does not have to be. God has said that to us over and over again. That He is in the process of making all things new. And so He's inviting us into that creative process to be a part of building a new world in which there is no pain or grief or sorrow or any of the things that we hate. It's a gift He's given us. The privilege to be His people. The privilege to be the people who will change the world in which we live for generations to come. And it only takes a small effort. A couple of coins, a couple of cans of corn. If we all do it, and we all do it all the time, what a difference it would make. That's what we celebrate when we think about Elizabeth. Is that privilege that God has also given to us. It's a great time to shout hallelujah, because it is a hallelujah moment. Amen.